Am I the a-hole for refusing to apologize for slapping my boyfriend when he smashed our birthday cake to my face? My boyfriend Charles, 38 male, and I, 34 female, celebrate our birthdays together. This year, I contributed a small private room at a restaurant, and we invited 11 people. 4 of them are my local friends, the rest are his family members. I wanted to celebrate a new achievement in my career and thought it would be great to splurge a little and enjoy some delicious food. We had access to the menu, drinks, and our cake. I had agreed to pay for half of the food, in addition to having rented the small space myself. The space was paid for in advance. The food was to be paid for at the end, as is typical in any restaurant. We had issues last year because I felt that he was doing low-effort things, while I always did my best to give him a nice birthday celebration. We have an income gap, but it wasn't even about money. I was making less last year, and I still made things work for him. So this year, he took care of inviting people, paid for the cake, and got me a spice rack as a present, which I loved. I made myself pretty, got my eyebrows and eyelashes done, and had my hair styled. We were told to pose and pretend to blow the candles, because I didn't want to blow our germs onto the cake. Then, we each had a picture alone with the cake. When it was my turn, I was holding the cake when he pushed my face toward it. I tried to fight it. His family started cheering, and he arched over my body and forced me to bend over until my face smashed into the cake. My friends tried to get him off me, and he resorted to plastering cake and frosting into my hair. I don't need to describe the mess because I'll never be able to end this post, but I ended up slapping him when he attempted to do it again. His mother got up and got into an argument with one of my guests. I had to cross the main floor with cake all over my face to use the restroom. When I looked in the mirror, I had cake on my neck, and my blouse had red and blue coloring that didn't come off. I had to wash my face and put my hair in a bun because it looked less messy that way. When I came back, his family were all long-faced. I told him what he did was unacceptable, and he said it was just a joke, that everybody has done that for ages, and that me slapping him just ruined my image in front of his family. I started crying and gathered all my stuff to leave. I notified him that he should pay for himself and his guests. My friends insisted on paying for their own food, but I refused, and we ended the night right there. My friends wanted to treat me to dinner elsewhere, but I wasn't comfortable with my appearance. They ended up sending me the money I spent, and that broke my heart. Charles had to pay for half of the remaining bill and got charged a cleaning fee. I still love him, but I'm clear that I'll never be able to forgive him. We talked about it, and I ended things. He's convinced that I never loved him. He acknowledged what he did was wrong, but is adamant that his family hates me for slapping him, and that it's my fault. I told him that he ruined not only our birthday, but also my way to celebrate my career milestone. I've worked very hard to get to where I am, and his behavior showed me what my future would look like. And that I'm sorry to say it, but he was so aggressive and so focused on making his family laugh at my expense that I just realized he's not good enough, and that I've lost my confidence to be seen with him in public because I don't know what else he will pull out of his behind. Important, I'm not proud of my reaction. We've never had any physical altercations. He says he paid for that cake, that he's not saying it was okay to smash it, but that it's not like I paid for everything. He wanted me to apologize to his mom, but I refused. He says his mother feels humiliated because of what I did, and that she has been struggling with mild depression for years. I didn't know, and I came off as violent. Am I the a-hole for refusing? I already blocked him. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The reason being is that you physically resisted having your face forced into a cake. He did it anyways, and attempted to do it a second time. I don't blame you for the slap in this situation. He tried to force you again when you clearly didn't want to. If someone were trying to force my face into a cake I was holding, I would have dropped it right on the floor and walked out the door. I'd be done with that relationship. It wasn't a joke. No means no. He and his family sound like a whole entourage of a-holes. Also, I panicked a bit because I was thinking I would get my nose and passageways blocked. I have asthma. Kim, my family hates that you defended yourself when I physically assaulted you in front of them. OP, I am so glad you got out safely. Wait, She thinks you came off as violent after watching him struggle to force your face into the cake? You did right. He sounds abusive and lazy. Throw him and the whole idiot family away. I'm still trying to figure out what depression has to do with this all. It doesn't. He's just trying to make OP take the blame instead of admitting what he done. Not too dissimilar to the "look what you made me do." But because he's likely aware that OP isn't soft enough to fall for it, he's using his fragile mother as a cover to get OP to cave and apologize for something she doesn't need to apologize for. Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my girlfriend at a wedding after she told the bride I used to have a crush on her? I, 27 male, was invited to a friend's wedding last weekend. Not someone I talked to every day, but we were close back in college and stayed in touch. The bride and I had a flirty friendship back in the day. Nothing ever happened, but I did used to have a bit of a crush on her. Early in my relationship with my girlfriend, 26 female, I mentioned that in passing, just one of those, haha, yeah, college was messy conversations. The wedding itself was great. My girlfriend and I got dressed up, had a couple of drinks, danced a little. At some point, I noticed her and the bride talking by the bar. They were smiling, laughing, nothing seemed off, until the bride started acting really weird around me, like distant, uncomfortable. Later, one of the bridesmaids, who I also know, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, just so you know, your girlfriend told the bride you used to be in love with her and that she should watch herself tonight." I honestly didn't know what to say. I confronted my girlfriend about it, and she didn't deny it. She said, I didn't want to cause drama, but I thought she deserved to know the history. I told her there was no history, and even if there had been, saying something like that at someone else's wedding was completely out of line. She got super defensive. She said I was blowing it out of proportion and caring more about the bride's feelings than hers. I told her I was embarrassed, hurt, and honestly kind of shocked by how casually she'd tried to stir the pot at someone else's wedding. She ended up dismissing everything I said, told me to get over it and stop making a scene. So I said screw it and left. I got in the car and drove home without her. I figured she'd find a way back with one of her friends. She knew several people there. She eventually did, but now she's saying I abandoned her, and a couple of her friends are messaging me, saying I humiliated her and that I'm an awful person for just leaving without her. I don't feel like I was wrong to walk away, but I was just super upset, and I'm starting to think the way I handled it was a bit over the top. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Completely inappropriate. You had a crush. You weren't in love. Your girlfriend completely blew it out of proportion and made the situation uncomfortable for both you, the bride, and her husband. Your girlfriend is an a-hole. This is the worst part of it. First of all, she deserves to know your history is a perplexing take. Not only because OP and the bride had no history beyond friendship, but also because if we lived in a world where we were morally required to disclose all of our personal feelings and secrets, it would be freaking shambolic, and humanity would be even more neurotic and paranoid than it already is. So just the fact that she thought she should tell this woman someone else's personal secret is beyond inappropriate. But then to do it at this woman's wedding reception takes it from inappropriate to malicious. This is quite possibly the only wedding the bride and groom will ever have, and remembering the moment you both agreed to make a life together, whether that's with a wedding or not, should be one of your happiest memories. OP's girlfriend didn't just spill OP's deepest inner thoughts, that he felt safe sharing with her no less, but she used the spillage to puke all over the bride and groom's celebration of love to each other. I'd be very hard to convince that this choice wasn't at least somewhat freaking malicious. And everyone is glazing over the fact that OP's girlfriend said to watch herself because of the crush. Why frame it like that, insinuating OP might try some creep stuff? You need to wake up. Red flags all over. This was your girlfriend, deliberately ruining the bride's wedding day, jealousy rearing its ugly head, by telling the bride an exaggerated lie about your feelings back in college. What exactly was she trying to warn her about? Like you were going to make a declaration of love during a speech? Or pin her in a corner saying, "You should have married me"? Girlfriend has issues. You will always have to wonder, What is she saying to people to keep you to herself? Thank goodness the friend told you, because you would have never known why the bride, who was your friend, pulled back. How many other friendships has she destroyed behind your back? Any other friends that you thought you were okay with suddenly ghost you? Look around. Girlfriend is a liar, blaming you for getting upset that she lied and got caught. Next story. Am I the a-hole for beating up my friend I caught sleeping with my girlfriend of 3.5 years? You know that overdone scene in movies where a character walks in on their woman getting railed by their best friend? Yeah, that was my weekend. Still shaking as I type this. I, 36 male, beat the crap out of my friend of 10 years when I saw what I saw. He didn't press charges, didn't even fight back, and said later he knows he had it coming. Obviously, I did not touch my now ex-girlfriend, 33, but holy crap did I curse her out too. Am I the a-hole for attacking my scumbag buddy? No serious hits other than a nosebleed, but the fact that he didn't really fight back is messing with my head. Like I hit someone who couldn't defend themselves. Edit. A lot of people are confused about the extent of the damage. The truth is, so am I. The shock of what I walked in on, and the speed at which it happened, makes me not trust my own recollection. Here's what I know for a fact. The nose was bleeding, black eye, but also no broken bones. No permanent damage that I know of. I also know I stopped when I realized this felt like an unfair fight. Edit 2. I realize assault is a crime and violence is bad unless in self-defense. That's why I'm here. Also, I can't believe this wasn't immediately clear, but it goes without saying. They will both never be in my life again in any capacity, barring any legal troubles I may encounter due to my loss of control. This falls under unwise but not morally blameworthy. Not the a-hole. Cheating isn't illegal, and OP is lucky to not have landed in jail. That said, can't say anyone in the same situation wouldn't want to do the same. You can't be surprised if violence ensues when you have an affair with a person supposedly in a committed monogamous relationship. You know you're messing with people's deepest emotions when you do that. Problem is that the law doesn't care. People are legally protected from assault, so unfortunately you're lucky he didn't press charges because he could have. That's part of the problem today. There is little consequence for doing really messed up stuff. Using racial slurs deserves picking yourself up off the ground. Banging your friend's wife or girlfriend deserves an ass kicking. Don't put the guy in the hospital, or then there are problems. Vandalize my car and do damage? That deserves a shot or two. When I was growing up, the thought of getting your ass beat was enough to behave. That, and not being a dirtbag garbage person. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to treat my ex's sort of girlfriend like another parent to my unborn babies and sitting down with my ex and her to lay out some facts about how things will go? A 25 female am pregnant with twins. Their father, 26 male, and I were together for almost a decade. Things seemed great at the start of my pregnancy. But then around 11 weeks in, he told me he had feelings for Amy, 24 female, who is or was friends with benefits with one of his two best friends. He told me he didn't feel like we should stay together just for the babies and that we'd work it out. I told him that was fine, but that I wasn't going to stay while he had any kind of affair, emotional or physical, with her any longer. He told me nothing physical had happened yet, and I said I didn't care if it did or didn't, because even if it hadn't, it was a yet, and if it wasn't Amy, it would be someone else. Amy and he ended up together, which came as no surprise. But then he told me he hated being away from me and regretted doing this to us. I heard him out for a week, before I made it clear that there was no going back, and we would never be a couple again. His relationship with Amy has been on and off. Even when they're off, they try to present as this united front and have wanted me to involve both of them in pregnancy stuff. Amy wanted to talk baby names with me, and she wanted us to go shopping for baby stuff together. She even wanted to do a joint shower so both of us could be celebrated. She also tried to say how crazy it was that I was having twins when she and my ex have no twins in their families, like she was counting herself and her family in that. I ignored most of those requests and communicated clearly and through text or email for anything I did respond to. But it was getting crazier with the requests, and the thing that bothered me most is that they are not stable at all, and they're trying to put that on me. They say if they were treated as a couple who were going to be equally part of the baby's lives, they wouldn't have so much trouble. My ex even said he felt like he had to be with me to be a real dad to the babies. When they mentioned her being at the birth, I knew we all needed to sit down and talk. I didn't trust my ex to be honest about what I'd say, so I told them we could meet once and talk it all out. They met me with a bunch of crazy expectations, like how both of them would come to see the babies at my house when his visitation would start. Overnights don't begin until 4 to 6 months of age in our state. They wanted all of us to make decisions, and they were thinking she could be mama to the babies. I let them talk, wrote down all the expectations they had, and then I told them they were crazy to expect all that. I said if my ex wants to be present at the birth, I'm okay with that. If they want to discuss things between themselves, I cannot stop them. But I won't be taking her advice on baby names. Discussions will be between me and my ex. I told them if they were still together when overnights began, I could not stop Amy from being there, but she was not coming to my house. I said if they were in a stable relationship and settling down, maybe we could all work together for the benefit of the children involved. But if they're on and off the whole time, it won't happen. I said I want my babies to be the priority, but that doesn't mean I'm out here looking for them to have a second mom or for the two of them to try and outvote me and push what they want. I also told my ex that if he and Amy break up for good, or if he misses the kids and wants to be around more, that it won't convince me to take him back. I told him I was serious about that and he needed to fully accept it. I brought that up because some of his body language and how he was looking at me made me feel like he was being too intimate for two people who are not a couple anymore and never will be. Amy said it was the confusion of everything and that if I could take them as a package deal, he'd find it easier. I told her I had already explained the reality of everything. They tried to argue, but I left once I realized they weren't going to stay calm or discuss things reasonably. My ex has emailed a few times in the days since, and he told me I need to work with them instead of against them, that I'm making all of this harder than it should be, and that I should think of our babies. He said he's trying to be an involved dad. I reminded him I'm not stopping him. But am I the a-hole for how I'm handling this? I'm trying to put the babies first, but I don't think that means treating Amy as mommy number 2 and acting like this is some family unit when they can't even stay together in the 4-ish months since the breakup. Now for the top comments. Lawyer up and fast. Already done. My lawyer has helped me keep on track of documenting and saving proof of things. Insist on a parenting app that records everything. They lost their shot at normal texting when they pulled that crap. Also, while it might sound more aggressive, it's actually going to smooth out the relationship when he has legal expectations and can't just try to manipulate you. That's something my lawyer has already discussed with me, but we can only enforce that once the babies are here.